You see, now the poet is very consistent, as I told you many times, in some of his descriptions and some of his use of certain words. Here he says that Lord at ease beneath the summer heavens. Summer. All this is going to happen in summer. We have seen that thing. Savitri had gone back in summer. She's coming back now here again in summer. The death of Satyavan, 1 year after this moment, is going to be in summer. Because 1 year is given to them. Summer is significant in that sense for the death of Satyavan. The physical cause, if you had to attribute, fate is interested in all that, but there has to be a physical cause for the death also. It is the sunstroke. He is going to suffer the heat of sun and then collapse due to exertion. So he is particular, he is consistent using the summer at number of places like that, you see. Once more we're near the fated, etc., etc. And then the past receded and the future neared. Savitri, young virgin, living in a palace, a princess, looked after by everybody, loved by everybody, endeared, served by everybody, that is now gone behind. She is going to look now into the future. She is going to serve. She is going to be a slave now in a new house, you see. Her royalty is gone there because she is going to stay in a hut, in a hermitage there, in a simple, living a simple way of life. So the past receded, the future neared. In the immediate sense, the past or the creation is over. The future or the creation is coming very fast. Just 1 more year and the future will start. Far now behind lay Madras spacious halls, the palace description. The white cart pillars, the cool, dim alcoves, the tinged mosaic of the crystal floors. So you can see the royal palace of Ashwapati. You see, crystal floor, the towered pavilion, the wind-rippled pools, and gardens humming with the murmur of bees, forgotten soon or a pale memory. So she has to forget all that thing or it will remain only as a memory. The fountains splash in the white stone-bound pool. So there were fountains also in those early days, you see. The fountains splash in a white stone-bound pool. The thoughtful noontide's brooding solemn trance. The colonnades dream grey in the quiet eve. The slow moonrise gliding in front of night. So you're describing the entire course of day. What happens in the morning, what happens in midday, what happens in the evening, what happens in the night, you see. The slow moonrise gliding in front of night, you see. What a description, you see. And then obviously for Savitri, left far behind were now the faces known, all her inmates, all her comrades, all her friends, servants, everybody, they are now left behind in the palace. The happy silken babble on laughter's lips. So her innocence is gone, her joy of childhood is now gone there. She is stepping into another life. Happy silken babble on laughter's lips, you see. And the close clinging clasp of intimate hand, her friends, and adoration's light in cherished eyes. She, the princess, who is adored by everybody in the house, in the palace, you see. Servants, relatives, friends, everybody is adoring her. Offered to the one sovereign of their, she was the sovereign of their life. They had offered everything to her. But that is now left far behind. Nature's primal, and in contrast to that, what we are here, nature's primal loneliness was here. Nobody is around. except the few hermitages. See. Here only was a voice of bird and beast. The ascetics exile in the dim-souled, huge, inhuman forest, far from cheerful sound of man's blithe converse and his crowded days. So all the crowded days of man are gone. His blithe conversation, happy life, the urban life is all gone now behind. And it's only the ascetics exile. They have abandoned the world and are now coming and living here for their spiritual practices, for the sadhana, for their tapasya. In a broad eve with one red eye of cloud, through a narrow opening, a green flowered cleft, out of the stair of sky and soil, they came into a mighty home of emerald dusk. They, the royal party, the chariots, the hastening hoofs, the whole royal party has come now to the hermitages. Out of the stair of sky, means now the sky also cannot penetrate because the forests are thick there around, you see. Soil they came into a mighty home of emerald dust. So this is towards the evening that they are coming to the forest, you see, basically here. In a broad eve with one red eye of cloud, so the whole sky is red, the evening sunset color, and the cloud, as if it is through that cloud, you are seeing the sunset, you see. Now, this is a description. One red eye of cloud, broad eve. You see how minutely the whole description is there. The details are so specific and clear and very well spelled out, you see, each one. Broad eve with one red eye. See. Now, this attention to details in the description of nature is something marvelous. With what care, with what details he is describing each and every point there, you see. Now, this attention to details is what Shrivantu calls the characteristics of Keats's poetry. John Keats, the English romantic poet, he is very particular about this kind of details. And it is he who describes all the small details like that. And this is one very beautiful instance of the Keatsian details of observation in Savitri. The Keatsian details of observations. One broad A with, a broad A with one red eye. You see, that is the Keatsian description. One of the most beautiful examples of Keatsian poetry in Savitri. How it can be romantic, although it is an epic poem, but see the romantic touch which is there in this one, into a mighty home of emerald dusk. There onward led by a faint, brooding path, which toiled through the shadow of enormous trunks. The shadow itself is toiling because there are so many trees all around. It's finding, and under arches, miles of sunshine, the arches of trees, they are not allowing the sunshine to enter in. Therefore, they have become misers. They saw low thatched roofs. They again, that royal party. They saw low thatched roofs of a hermitage huddled beneath a patch of azure hue in a sunlit clearing. It seemed the outbreak of a glad smile. Again, this is another beautiful Keatsian description. Glad smile in the forest's monstrous heart, you see. A rude refuge of thought and will of man, watched by the crowding giants of the wood. So all the trees are watching the whole scene that you see. So that is how the marriage party is arriving at the place, you see. Arrive in that rough-hewn homestead. Yeah, it's a crude little hut in which Savitri is going to stay. The princess was living in a palace, now she has to live in this cottage here, you see. Homestead, they gave, questioning no more, the strangeness of her fate. See, they had to give her. They are not going to question her fate. Their pride and loved one to the great blind king, a regal pillar of fallen mightiness, and a stately, careworn woman, once a queen, who now hoped nothing for herself from life, but all things only hoped for her one child, calling on a single hand from partial fate, all joy of earth, all heaven's beatitude. Now, this description, these 5 lines, they are describing Satyavan's mother, basically. And stately, careworn woman, once a queen, Satyavan's mother. She was a queen once, but now she is coming here and living in the forest. Now hope nothing for herself from life, because she has lost everything. What can she hope now in the hermitage, except the good of her child, of her son? That is her concern all the while. But all things only hope for her one child, that is Satyavan, calling on a single head from partial fate. All joy of earth, she invites all the joy of earth for this little boy of hers, all heaven's beatitude. She wants the blessings of heaven for him. Now she says here, the poet rather says here, single head, that single head from partial fate. Partial, not in part, you mean, sense. She had become, biased. In the sense of bias, fate is biased here. Why fate has given this kind of a life to this young boy who has not committed any sin? Why is fate biased against him? That he should come live in a forest? What has he done to have such a fate? So she is calling now heaven's beautiful blessings for this little boy of hers, partial fate. Partial fate, which is bias, prejudice, so to say, has brought him here, and she is now invoking the blessings of heaven while Savitri is arriving there. See, who now hope nothing for herself from life. She doesn't want anything for herself. Whatever she wants for her son. And here, their pride and loved one. Now, this is a royal party. Now, the great blind king, a regal pillar of fallen mightiness. Fallen mightiness. That is Nimatsena, Satyavan's father. That is Satyavan's father. Blind, he has become fallen. Therefore, he is fallen. Because he has become blind, he is exiled and is living. His might is gone now in that way. His power, majesty, royalty, they are all gone. See. Their pride and love to the, so the whole marriage party now is giving this girl to this blind king and to this careworn woman. Blind king and careworn woman. They are sort of handing her over to this parents-in-law of Satyavan. Arrived in that rough hewn, obviously it is a cottage, hermitage, rough hewn. They gave questioning no more the strangeness of her fate. Now this is the most important thing. See how the poet casually mentions something, questioning no more the strangeness of her fate. They, the marriage party, questioning the strangeness of her fate. Are they aware that 1 year after the marriage she is going to be a widow? To say questioning no more of her fate, that they are as if aware and they are not going to question anymore why her husband is going to die. It's not that. It is not that. They don't know at all that Satyavan will die, except Savitri's parents, nobody in the royal convoy knows about Satyavan's death. It is a top secret of the palace, known only to three persons: Savitri's parents and Savitri herself. None else, not the hermitage, not the world, nobody knows it all, you see. So, no more the strangeness of her fate. Then what is that strangeness of her fate that they are wondering at? They are not aware of what had happened in the palace when Narad had come and all that. What is the strangeness of her fate? For them, the strangeness of fate is something in the immediate context. In the immediate context. What is the context? She was living in a place like this. In a palace. White card pillars, all that. She was living in that kind of a place. And now she is going to live under this kind of austere peaks and titan solitudes. For them, that is the strangeness of it. This royal girl, princess, now going to live as an exile. For them, that is the strangeness of fate. How can that happen? How can that happen at all? So they are really wondering, but they are not questioning, as this is. See, they are not questioning at all now. See, that is the important thing. Because she has accepted it is Savitri's choice. Their darling, their dear, whatever she has chosen is acceptable to me. Unfortunately, in their opinion, in their view, she has chosen a hermitage, a cottage instead of a palace, and that is the strangeness for them. Rafune, there was his Rafune homestead. She had chosen that thing in the place of a palace. That is the strangeness for them.